My husband smirked and said, "My ex will be at Christmas dinner. Try not to make it awkward. Behave yourself for once." He didn't even look up from his phone when he said it, just took another sip of his expensive single malt scotch. Completely casual, like he was reminding me to pick up his dry cleaning down on North Avenue, not demanding I host his ex-girlfriend, his mistress, at our annual holiday gathering in our fancy Lincoln Park apartment. I was standing there, holding a dish towel, my hands still damp from washing the dinner plates he'd barely touched. For a moment, I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. The words hung in the air between us like a poisonous cloud of Chicago smog. Behave yourself for once. Before this story of betrayal and cold, hard revenge rips the rug out from under you, you need to make a choice. Think about the last time you felt underestimated, felt like you were too small to fight back. That fear, that's what Quinn is facing right now. Don't let this story be the one that got away. Hit that subscribe button now. If you skip it, you're admitting you're okay with letting the bad guys win, and if you're not subscribing, you better use the comments section right now to confess why you're letting fear hold you back. I nodded, of course. I'd spent 4 years of marriage to William perfecting the art of pretending his words didn't sting. I was the good wife, the easy wife. I heard myself say, with a voice that was perfectly pleasant, "Of course, honey, whatever you want." He finally glanced up, gave me that satisfied little smirk, the one that used to make my heart flutter, back when I was young and naive. Now, it just made my stomach churn because what William didn't know, what he couldn't possibly know, was that I'd already seen his phone. I knew exactly why Michelle was really coming to Christmas dinner, and I had sent out an invitation of my own. I need to back up, just for a minute, and show you exactly how I became this woman. The one standing in a designer kitchen, swallowing humiliation with a smile, planning a scorched earth revenge behind perfect manners. 4 years ago, I thought I'd won the lottery when William Whitmore proposed. We met at a corporate fundraiser downtown, one of those black-tie Chicago events. I was the event coordinator, hustling around, making sure the ice sculptures didn't melt, the champagne kept flowing, the silent auction ran smoothly. He was representing Morrison & Blake, the high-flying investment firm where he was an analyst. He was handsome in his tailored suit, confident in that way that only comes from old money and an Ivy League degree. He pursued me with the same laser focus he applied to his stock portfolios. Flowers sent to my office, reservations at restaurants I couldn't afford on my salary, weekend trips up to his family's lake house in Wisconsin. He made me feel special, chosen, like I was the only woman in the whole Chicagoland area who mattered. 6 months later, he proposed. A year after that, we were married in a ceremony his mother planned down to the last gilded detail, paid for by his parents, with a guest list that had more of his colleagues than my friends. I should have noticed the pattern then. I was only 26, he was 31. I mistook his control for care, his possessiveness for devotion. The changes started small, subtle suggestions that quickly became firm opinions, then unspoken, ironclad rules. That dress is a bit much for a work dinner, don't you think? Maybe something more conservative. Your friends are nice, but they're not really our crowd. Why don't we focus on building relationships that benefit both our careers? Then came the coup de grace, the conversation that killed my career and my self-esteem. Event planning is fine for single women, but now that you're my wife, you don't need to work. We don't need the money. And honestly, Quinn, planning birthday parties isn't exactly a real career. That was 8 months into our marriage, right after I'd been promoted. I loved my job. The creativity, the problem-solving, the satisfaction of pulling off a perfect event on the Magnificent Mile. But William framed quitting as an upgrade, a privilege. "Stay home," he said. "Take care of the apartment. Be my wife. Isn't that what you want?" I wanted to be a good wife. I wanted him to be proud of me. So, I quit. Now, 3 years later, I spend my days in this stunning apartment that feels more like a cold, sterile showroom than a home. Everything is in shades of grey and cream, sophisticated, mature, expensive. William's taste, not mine. I would have chosen warmth, deep blues, inviting terracottas, anything with life in it. But William said jewel tones were dated and suburban, so his aesthetic won. I fill my time hosting dinners for his colleagues and their wives. The wives are always polite, always friendly, but there's a distance there. They talk about their careers in law, medicine, finance, Chicago's power structure. Then they turn to me and ask what I do, and I have to say, I'm a homemaker. And I watch something shift in their expressions. Pity maybe, or judgment. I can never quite tell. William comes home late most nights now. Working late, he says, but he never explains what high-stakes deals require his attention until 9 or 10 p.m. I've learned not to ask. The one time I questioned whether he really needed to be at the office so much, he got that edge in his voice, the one that isn't quite anger but feels like a clear warning from a boss. Quinn, I'm building our future. Do you think this lifestyle pays for itself? The apartment, the car, your credit card, someone has to do the actual work. So I stopped asking. Instead, I became the perfect wife. Dinner was ready whenever he walked through the door. The apartment was magazine perfect. I dressed the way he preferred, and I smiled and nodded during his work dinners, while the other wives discussed cases and surgeries and market trends. I learned to make myself smaller. Tonight was supposed to be different. It was October 20th, not an anniversary or birthday, but I'd wanted to do something nice. I spent all afternoon prepping his favorite meal, pan-seared salmon with a lemon butter sauce, roasted asparagus with parmesan, and wild rice pilaf made from scratch. I set the table with our wedding china, the white and gold trim set his parents gave us, and lit candles. I even wore the navy dress he likes. William walked through the door at 9:14 p.m., barely glanced at the table and headed straight for the bar cart to pour that scotch. And then he dropped the bomb about Michelle Brennan, his ex-girlfriend from college, the one he dated for 2 years before we met. I knew about her. William mentioned her occasionally, always in this nostalgic, almost reverent tone that made it crystal clear she occupied a tier in his mind that I could never reach. Michelle thinks the tech sector is overvalued. Michelle recommended this restaurant. Michelle always understood complex financial instruments in a way most people don't. I'd felt twinges of jealousy, but I'd pushed them down. She was in Boston, working at some high-powered law firm, making partner, living a life completely separate from ours. She was the past, I was the present, except now she's moving back to Chicago and William wants her at our Christmas dinner. She's important to me, Quinn, he'd said, like that explained everything. We're still close friends. She'll be alone for the holidays and I think it would be nice to include her. I suggested inviting my sister Clara instead. She'd been asking to visit and her kids would love the city at Christmas. William dismissed it immediately. Your sister talks too much. Besides, this isn't about her. Michelle is moving back to town. She's going to be part of our social circle, and I need you to be mature about this. Then came the line that's still echoing in my head. Try not to make it awkward. Behave yourself for once. For once, as if I'm constantly misbehaving, always embarrassing him, always failing to meet some secret standard. I smiled and agreed, because that's what I do now. Except 2 nights ago, I stopped being that woman. I couldn't sleep. William was snoring beside me, one arm flung across my side of the bed. His phone kept lighting up on the nightstand with notifications. Usually I ignore it. Work emails, market alerts, nothing that concerns me. But that night, something primal, something I hadn't felt since before he upgraded me to homemaker, made me look. The screen was unlocked. An incoming text from M was visible in the preview. Can't wait to see you tomorrow. Miss you so much. My heart started pounding like a drum solo. I picked up the phone with shaking hands and opened the message thread. What I found destroyed me. Months of messages, hundreds of them. William and Michelle had been in constant contact the entire time she was in Boston. They'd been meeting up during his supposed business trips I had helped him pack for, kissed him goodbye for, and welcomed him home from without a shred of suspicion. The messages weren't just friendly catch-ups between exes. They were intimate, explicit, full of longing and inside jokes, and references to a shared future. Michelle, I miss you. Can't wait to be in the same city again. William, me too. It's been torture being apart. Just a few more weeks. Michelle, does she suspect anything? William, God no. Quinn's too focused on throw pillows and dinner parties to notice anything. She's harmless. Harmless. That word kept appearing over and over. William described me as harmless, simple, easy to manage, easy to control. Michelle, you always said she was simple. William, she is. That's why I married her. Easy to manage, Easy to control, not like you. You've always been on my level. I sat there in the dark, reading message after message, watching my marriage dissolve into something ugly and calculated. William hadn't married me because he loved me. He'd married me because I was manageable, because I wouldn't challenge him, wouldn't compete with him, wouldn't demand too much. I was the safe choice, the easy choice, the simple choice. If you feel the cold knot of rage and betrayal tightening in your chest right now, you need to turn that emotion into action. Don't risk missing the rest of this masterclass in vengeance. Click subscribe immediately. Don't be harmless. Prove you're a fighter. If you can watch this and not subscribe, go type "I'm harmless" in the comments and own your fear. But it was the most recent messages, from just 3 days ago, that changed everything. William: I'm telling her about Christmas tomorrow, setting the stage. Michelle: think she'll take the hint? William: eventually. I need her to initiate the divorce, clean it that way. My attorney says if she files first, I look like the victim. Plus, the prenup kicks in. She signed it without even reading it. She gets almost nothing. Michelle: you're terrible. William: I'm practical, and by New Year's, she'll be gone, and we can stop hiding. I set the phone down, exactly where I found it. My hands were perfectly steady. The crushing hurt I'd felt moments before had crystallized into something else, something colder, something dangerous. William wanted me to initiate the divorce so he could play the victim and keep all our assets, thanks to a prenup I'd signed in a haze of love and trust 4 years ago. He wanted to humiliate me by forcing me to serve Christmas dinner to his mistress. He wanted me to behave myself while he dismantled our marriage on his terms. He thought I was too simple to notice, too harmless to fight back. He was dead wrong. The next morning, I made him his favorite breakfast, eggs Benedict with fresh hollandaise, and smiled when he barely looked up from his tablet. I played the role perfectly because I'd already decided, if William wants to play games, I'm going to change all the rules of the whole damn ballpark. That afternoon, while he was at work, I dug out our prenuptial agreement from the safe in his office. I'd signed it without reading it 4 years ago. Now, I read every single word. The terms were brutal. If I filed for divorce within 5 years of marriage, I'd receive $50,000 and nothing else. No claim to the apartment, even though the down payment came from my inheritance from my grandmother. No alimony, no share of his retirement accounts or investment portfolio. I'd be left with almost nothing. But on page 17, buried deep in the dense legal language, I found something William's big-shot attorney probably hoped I'd never notice: an adultery clause. In the event of proven adultery by William Whitmore, all prenuptial conditions are void, and marital assets shall be divided according to Illinois state law. Proven adultery. I took photos of every page of that prenup and emailed them to myself using a secret encrypted account. Then I put the document back exactly as I'd found it. William thinks I'm simple. He thinks I'm harmless. He's about to find out how catastrophically wrong he is. Standing there completely oblivious to his fate, I felt something I hadn't felt in years: power. He wants Michelle at Christmas dinner? Fine, she'll be here, but so will some other guests William isn't expecting. By the time dessert is served, everyone in this Lincoln Park apartment is going to understand exactly what kind of man William Whitmore really is, and exactly what kind of woman I've become. The morning after William's announcement, I woke up with a clarity I hadn't felt since I was single. He was already gone, left early for a breakfast meeting downtown, the note on the kitchen counter claimed. I didn't believe him anymore. Every word out of his mouth felt like a potential lie. I knew I needed help. Professional help, the kind of help that could turn my suspicions into evidence that would hold up in an Illinois divorce court. I'd spent all night searching online forums for women leaving high net worth marriages and legal advice threads. That's where I found the recommendation. Amelia Delgado, private investigator, former Chicago PD detective, specializing in infidelity cases. She believed me when no one else did, one woman wrote. I sent Amelia an email before I could talk myself out of it. Brief, to the point. I need to document my husband's affair. Can we meet? Her response came within an hour. Wicker Park Cafe, 2:00 p.m. today. I'll be at the back table wearing a blue jacket. I headed to the Wicker Park neighborhood, busy with young professionals and artists. The cafe was tucked into a corner building. I spotted Amelia immediately. A woman in her 50s with dark hair pulled back in a practical ponytail, sharp eyes that assessed me the moment I walked through the door. "Quinn, yes? Thank you for meeting me. Have a seat." She studied me, cataloguing everything. The tension in my shoulders, the fact that I wasn't wearing my wedding ring. I'd left it on the bathroom counter next to William's cologne. "Tell me what's going on," Amelia said, her voice low and professional. Saying it out loud made it terrifyingly real. "My husband is having an affair with his ex-girlfriend. They've been involved for at least a year. She's moving back to Chicago, and he's invited her to our Christmas dinner. He told me to behave myself." Amelia's expression didn't change. She'd heard this story 1,000 times on the streets of Chicago. "How do you know about the affair?"
"I found messages on his phone, hundreds of them. They've been planning a future together. He wants me to file for divorce so he looks like the victim. There's a prenup that would leave me with almost nothing if I do, but there's an adultery clause. On page 17, if I can prove he cheated, the prenup is void. And you need proof," Amelia finished. "Documented, undeniable proof." She pulled up a standard contract. "I've been doing this for 15 years. Before that, I was with Chicago PD for 20. I've seen every version of this story. Once you go down this road, there's no going back. Once you see the evidence, the photos, the surveillance footage, you can't unsee it. Are you sure you want to do this?" I thought about William calling me simple and harmless. "I already know," I said. "I just need the evidence." She gave me the slightest of nods. "Then let's get started." I gave her William's schedule, his haunts, his car's make and model. "Does your husband have any idea you suspect anything?" "No, I've been playing the perfect wife. He thinks I'm too focused on decorating and hosting to notice." "Good. Keep it that way. The moment he suspects you're building a case, he'll get careful. Right now, he's sloppy because he's confident. We want him to stay that way." I left the cafe feeling lighter. I wasn't alone anymore. I had an ally. The next 2 weeks were a blur. I maintained my routine, the gracious hostess, the smiling wife. But every 3 days, Amelia sent me an update via an encrypted email. The first email contained photos of William and Michelle meeting at the Four Seasons Hotel downtown. They were sitting close in the lobby bar, his hand on her knee. The timestamp showed 2:15 p.m. on a Thursday, right in the middle of what William had called a client lunch. The second email had grainy but undeniable video footage. Amelia managed to follow them to a parking garage on Randolph Street, where they kissed like reckless teenagers against William's car before driving away in separate vehicles. The third contained financial records. William's personal AMX statements, the one I wasn't authorized to use. The charges told a story. Jewelry from Tiffany's, dinners at expensive restaurants I'd never been to, a weekend stay at a resort in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, during a time William claimed he was at a conference in Milwaukee. I looked at the receipts and felt nothing but cold calculation. This was ammunition. This was leverage. This was power. But Amelia's fourth email changed the game. "Call me. Found something you need to know about." "Michelle Brennan works at Morrison and Blake," Amelia said without preamble. "Same firm as your husband. She started 3 months ago." My stomach dropped. "They're colleagues. He's up for partner. And Quinn, there's something else. I've been following her too, just to get a fuller picture. She's seeing someone else besides your husband." "What?" "Robert Morrison," Amelia stated, "founding partner at Morrison and Blake. Married, 3 kids in the suburbs. I've got photos of them together at Alinea last week, at the Peninsula Hotel 2 weeks before that. She's playing them both." Michelle wasn't just William's mistress. She was juggling multiple affairs, using both men, the mid-level analyst and the founding partner, to rocket her career into the stratosphere. "Her security is weak," Amelia continued. "I managed to pull some text messages between her and Robert Morrison. They're damning. Michelle calls William desperate and clingy. She tells Robert that William is a convenient distraction while she waits for Robert to leave his wife. She's playing them both, and neither man has any idea." I sat there staring at the evidence, and the final piece of the plan clicked into place. I wouldn't just expose William. I would expose Michelle's entire web of lies. I would bring everyone together in one room and watch her carefully constructed house of cards collapse.
I called Amelia back. "How would you feel about helping me with something unconventional?" There was a low chuckle. "Honey, I live for unconventional. What did you have in mind?" "I need to contact Robert Morrison anonymously. I need to tell him what his girlfriend is really doing. Then I need to invite him to Christmas dinner, along with his wife Madison. She deserves to know too." "That's bold, Also, potentially brilliant. You'd need ironclad evidence, though. He won't believe you without proof. I can compile a full dossier, photos, receipts, timeline of their affair, everything. You send it to Morrison, let him verify it himself, and then you invite him to witness the whole thing firsthand. Can you help me write the email? Make sure it's untraceable. Absolutely. This is going to take some planning. We met 3 days later at a quiet library in Logan Square to craft the email. Amelia's experience as a detective was invaluable. She knew exactly how to phrase things to be convincing without being threatening. The final email, sent from a completely untraceable Proton Mail account, read, "Mr. Morrison, you don't know me, but I know you. More importantly, I know Michelle Brennan, the attorney at your firm who's currently up for partner. I'm writing because I believe you deserve to know the truth about the woman you've been seeing. Michelle is currently in a relationship with another man at your firm, William Whitmore, a senior investment analyst. They've been carrying on an affair for over a year, and she's planning to spend Christmas with him and his wife. I have evidence. Photos, messages, hotel receipts. If you'd like proof of what I'm telling you, respond to this email. You seem like a successful man with a lot to lose. Michelle Brennan is playing both of you, and I thought you should know before she does any more damage. Concerned friend." "It's good," Amelia said. "Not too emotional, not accusatory, just facts." He'll respond. "How can you be sure?" "Because men like Robert Morrison can't resist a mystery, and because his ego won't let him ignore the possibility that he's being played." That evening, William came home early in a fantastic mood. "Great day. Closed a big deal. Morrison was impressed," he said, kissing the top of my head, a gesture that made my skin crawl. "I was thinking we should go shopping this weekend for Christmas. Get something nice for Michelle. What do you think? Maybe a scarf, something tasteful." He wanted me to help him buy a gift for his mistress. I gripped the wooden spoon tighter. "That sounds lovely," I heard myself say. "A cashmere scarf, maybe. Very elegant. Perfect. See, this is why I knew you'd be mature about her coming to dinner. You're always so gracious." I smiled and nodded, playing the obedient wife, while inside I was counting the minutes until he fell asleep. At 11:30 p.m., he finally headed to bed. I waited another 30 minutes, listening to his breathing. Then I took my laptop to the bathroom, closed the door, and sat on the edge of the tub. My hands were shaking as I opened the Proton Mail account and pasted in the email. I attached enough evidence to be convincing, not overwhelming. My finger hovered over the send button. This was it, the point of no return. I was setting events in motion that I couldn't control. Robert Morrison could ignore it. He could warn William. He could ruin my plan. But I thought of William's smirk, his casual cruelty, the way he told me to behave myself. I thought of the text where he called me simple, harmless, easy to manage. I clicked send. The next morning, I checked the anonymous email account the moment William left for work. Nothing. By noon, I was convinced I had miscalculated. Then at 1:30 p.m., my laptop chimed. "Who is this? How did you get this information?" The email was brief, aggressive. I attached more evidence, screenshots of texts, hotel receipts, surveillance photos, and kept my message short. "Everything I told you is true. Check the evidence. If you want more proof, I can provide it." At 4:00 p.m., another message. I confronted her. She denied everything, said you're lying, said you're some crazy ex-girlfriend of mine trying to cause trouble. "Who are you?" This was it, the critical moment. I took a deep breath. "I'm not your ex-girlfriend. I'm William Whitmore's wife. My name is Quinn. We've been married for 4 years and we live together in Lincoln Park. Everything I've told you is true. Michelle has been playing both of you. My husband has invited Michelle to our Christmas dinner. He told me to behave myself. He thinks I don't know about the affair. He thinks I'm too simple to notice, but I know everything. Here's what I'm proposing. You and I give them exactly what they want. A nice Christmas dinner. All of us together. Let's see how well Michelle handles being exposed in front of everyone. If you're interested in making sure the truth comes out, respond to this email." I sent it and felt sick. I had just revealed my identity to a stranger. Days passed. 3 days. I was convinced I had failed. Robert Morrison was going to ignore it. I was in the kitchen when my laptop chimed. I walked slowly to the computer. "I'm in. What do you need from me?" The weeks leading up to Christmas were the greatest acting performance of my life. William was on cloud nine. He was certain his simple wife, Quinn, was completely under his thumb. He was counting the minutes until he could parade Michelle around our apartment. Meanwhile, I was a coiled spring, a bomb ticking down to 0 hour. The moment of truth is literally seconds away. That pounding in your chest, that's what William Whitmore is about to feel. Do not let yourself be distracted. Lock in the subscription right now. This is the highest stakes moment in the entire story. If you're a non-subscriber, you'll regret missing the fallout of the final twist. Tell us in the comments what you think will happen to Michelle Brennan. The Christmas Eve dinner was perfect. The apartment was immaculate. William and I were in the living room exchanging pleasantries. I had invited my sister Clara, after all. William was too giddy to object. At exactly 7:00 p.m., the doorbell rang. "That must be Michelle," William said, a smug, satisfied smirk plastered all over his face. "Remember, Quinn, behave yourself." "Wouldn't dream of anything else, honey," I replied, standing to open the door. He didn't even bother getting up. He was too busy anticipating the look of humiliation on his wife's face. I opened the heavy oak door. And there she was, Michelle Brennan, draped in some overpriced dress, clutching a designer bottle of wine, a predator's smile on her face. Her eyes barely registered me. She was already looking past me for William. But beside her stood another man and another woman, Robert Morrison, the founding partner of Morrison and Blake, and his wife, Madison. Michelle's smile evaporated. Her jaw actually dropped. William's face, still seated in the leather armchair, went completely drained of colour. The room fell dead silent. Robert Morrison stepped forward, his eyes locked on Michelle. "Michelle, I see you decided to take William up on his invitation after all. What excellent timing," Michelle stammered. "Mr. Morrison, Robert, I didn't realize you were invited. This is a misunderstanding. Quinn, why are they here?" "They're my guests, Michelle," I said, my voice as calm as a frozen Chicago lake. "Welcome, Robert, Madison. Please come in. Michelle, why don't you put your coat in the closet? William, get your guests a drink." William finally managed to stand, stumbling slightly. "Robert, what a surprise. What are you doing here?" Robert Morrison didn't smile. He held up a thick manila envelope. "I believe your wife invited me to clarify a few things. She seems to have some rather compelling evidence regarding an affair, both yours and mine, with this lovely associate right here." Michelle let out a small, wounded gasp. "That's a lie. It's slander, Robert. William, tell them." But William was silent. He couldn't speak. He looked like he'd been hit by a truck speeding down the I-94. We moved to the dining table. The untouched Christmas dinner sat as a backdrop to the brutal drama unfolding. William finally found his voice. "Quinn, what is the meaning of this? What games are you playing?" "No games, honey," I replied sweetly, taking a seat. "I'm just behaving myself like you asked." Robert opened the envelope and slid a stack of high-resolution photos across the table. Photos from the Four Seasons, from the Randolph Street parking garage, from Lake Geneva. Madison Morrison picked one up, a photo of her husband and Michelle at Alinea. She didn't scream or cry. She just looked at Michelle with an expression of pure, frozen contempt. "You called me desperate and clingy, Michelle," William said, his voice a broken whisper. He'd seen the texts. I knew he had. "I said that to Robert to keep him from interfering," Michelle lied, her hands shaking. Madison Morrison reached into her handbag and pulled out her phone. "Michelle, do you recognize this text message?" She read the message I'd sent to Robert and a copy of the message from Michelle to Robert, calling William harmless and a convenient distraction. Michelle was cornered. William was defeated. Robert was humiliated. Then I reached into my coat pocket and pulled out the prenuptial agreement. "William, you asked me to be mature. I am. I'm presenting you with the paperwork that voids our prenup. Page 17, the adultery clause." I slid it across the table. "You wanted me to file first so you could play the victim and keep all the money. But thanks to this clause, and thanks to the irrefutable evidence of your proven adultery that Amelia Delgado documented, you get nothing under the prenup, and all assets will be divided according to Illinois state law." I gestured to the doorway where Amelia had been standing with her camera, documenting every single beat of this meltdown. "Amelia Delgado, former detective, now private investigator. She's witnessed everything tonight, filmed everything. It's all evidence." William finally looked up at me, and I saw the moment he really understood. "You planned this," he said slowly. all of this. You invited them. You exposed us. You've been playing me this whole time. You told me to behave myself, I said softly. So I did. I behaved perfectly. I smiled and cooked and hosted your work dinners and played the obedient wife while I documented every lie you told me. You called me simple, easy to manage, easy to control. You planned to humiliate me by making me serve dinner to your mistress. You wanted me to file for divorce so you could play the victim and keep everything. My voice was steady, cold. So yes, William, I planned this, every single detail, because you underestimated me, and that was your biggest mistake. William sat motionless at the table. His eyes were unfocused, staring at nothing. Michelle was the first to break. She grabbed her coat, clutched it to her chest, and ran for the door. Her expensive heels clicked frantically against the hardwood, sharp, panicked sounds that echoed through the apartment. The door slammed behind her. Robert Morrison stood slowly, his face etched with shame. Madison turned to me. I'm sorry you had to find out this way, I said. She shook her head. Don't be. If you hadn't done this, I might never have known. We have 3 children. I needed to understand what kind of woman was trying to destroy my family, and what kind of man I'm married to. She glanced back at Robert. You're stronger than you look, Quinn. Don't forget that. As they left, I heard Madison's voice in the hallway, sharp and cutting. Don't you dare try to explain this away, Robert. 23 years of marriage, and this is what you do? We'll discuss this at home with my attorney present. Their voices faded as the elevator doors closed. My sister, Clara, appeared. She'd been recording everything from the living room. Quinn, that was intense. William, I said, looking at my husband, defeated and broken. You have 2 days to pack your essentials. Anything you leave behind will be donated or thrown away. He stood slowly, picking up his coat. At the door, he turned back one last time. I'm sorry, he whispered, for everything. I know that doesn't fix anything, but I am sorry. Sorry isn't enough, I said. The door closed behind him with a soft click. The silence was unnaturally loud. My legs gave out and I sank into the nearest chair. The sobs came from somewhere deep inside me, a place I'd been keeping locked away for years. I cried for the marriage I thought I had, for the man I thought William was, for the 4 years I spent making myself smaller. Why does it hurt so much if he was such a monster? I sobbed. Clara pulled me into her arms. Because you loved him, because you believed in your marriage. Revenge doesn't erase that pain. It just proves you were strong enough to fight back. You just burned down your whole life, Quinn. It's okay to grieve what you lost, even if losing it was necessary. Amelia approached quietly. I'm going to head out. I'll have the full report to your attorney by tomorrow afternoon. If you need anything, call me, day or night. In the months that followed, I rebuilt my life, brick by brick, right here in Lincoln Park. The divorce was quick, clean, and financially equitable, thanks to that adultery clause and Amelia's airtight evidence. I bought out William's share of the apartment, and the first thing I did was redecorate. I reclaimed the spare bedroom that William had taken over for his work setup. Now it's my studio. I bought canvases and oils and spent hours creating abstract pieces that help me process everything I've been through. The bedroom got a complete makeover. Gone are the sterile greys. Now it's sage green walls, soft textures, plants on every surface, a sanctuary instead of a showroom. I cut my hair shorter, easier to manage for the early morning runs I've started taking through Lincoln Park. I buy clothes that make me feel like me. Comfortable jeans, oversized sweaters, nothing William ever would have approved of. The woman staring back at me from the mirror barely resembles the woman from a year ago. She's thinner, stronger from the literal rebuilding. Her eyes are different too, sharper, more alert, less trusting, but definitely more alive. I was Quinn Whitmore, the woman who was told to behave herself, who was called simple and easy to manage, who was supposed to quietly disappear after her marriage ended. Instead, I became something else, something stronger, something unbreakable. I chose rebellion over compliance, justice over silence, my own freedom over his comfort, and now I'm just Quinn, not defined by my marriage or my divorce or even my revenge, just myself for the first time in 5 years. I'm not afraid of what comes next. I'm ready for it. My phone buzzes again. Another woman reaching out. Another person who needs help finding her way out. I smile and pick up the phone. This is who I am now. This is what I do. I help women stop being harmless, and I've never been more proud of anything in my life. If you have watched this far and still haven't subscribed, I have to ask, what are you afraid of? Are you scared of being powerful? Are you worried that supporting this story of fierce, calculated justice will challenge the status quo? Don't let William Whitmore's toxic values win. You are one click away from joining a community that believes in fighting back. If you can't bring yourself to subscribe, then you are officially part of the problem. Go to the comments right now and type, "I am choosing to remain harmless," and live with that decision. If you have watched this far and still haven't subscribed, I have to ask, what are you afraid of? Are you scared of being powerful? Are you worried that supporting this story of fierce, calculated justice will challenge the status quo? Don't let William Whitmore's toxic values win. You are one click away from joining a community that believes in fighting back. If you can't bring yourself to subscribe, then you are officially part of the problem. Go to the comments right now and type, "I am choosing to remain harmless," and live with that decision.